Hey sisters, it's the last day of Scorpio new moon, and I know that I always say that it doesn't matter what sign the moon is in, but it's always a nice inspiration. Once upon a time, I used to do mermaid new moon parties, and I want to resurrect that a little bit because I'm really feeling the mermaids super strong at the moment. So I wanted to tell you about the Scorpio mermaids and the mermaids of this new moon and this season that we are entering in now. So, a thing about mermaids is that we see the nice side of them in pop culture. We see the cuteness and the sparkles and the hair and the no periods, free clamshell bra, that kind of like cute nonsense. But mermaids are creatures that are both the divine feminine and the water and the ocean. And the ocean has intense depth and it has intense darkness and scary bits and places where the current takes you along and you have no control. It has riptides, it has creatures that you cannot see, it has danger, and it has that. If you've ever been in the middle of the ocean and you've been on a boat or like swimming on the surface and you've just had that thought, fuck, I have no idea what is beneath me or anything could be underneath. I have no idea where the bottom is. And that kind of strange kind of feeling. That's Scorpio mermaids. That's the other side of the mermaids. It's kind of called the dark side, but it's not. And the thing about Scorpio and the mermaids is this is where we really feel into that myth of being too much and being the too much woman, the woman who is too much, the woman who feels too much, the woman who wants too much, the woman who just everything about her is too much. And this is a very clever bit of the patriarchy messing with us. Mermaids are the liberated female without the influence of the patriarchy. That's why they are so desired and kind of everyone's scared of them in all the stories we read about them. And Scorpio is really much about intensity and too much and this rolling current of feeling that we get that overwhelms us. And with the mermaids, when I was doing my meditation today for the Scorpio moon, I was shown on one side there is the intense mermaid, the too much mermaid, the mermaid who stares at you just a bit too much, the mermaid who wants to know everything a bit too much, the mermaid who everything about her is just big. It's just a lot. She's so full on. And that is one kind of intensity. And if you're a mermaid person, if you're a mermaid woman, you will recognize this because we're all a bit like this. We all have this intensity and feeling of too much. And this, I think we often have this presence that is like, I'm here, I'm devouring everything you have right now. That kind of feel. And so that was one side of the intensity of the Scorpio mermaid, the one that projects it outwards. And in that way it can be intimidating for others because they do not know how to be in that presence with us. And interestingly, I'll get onto that in a second. And then on the other side of me was the other intense Scorpio mermaid. And she wasn't outwardly intense, but you could look at her eyes and see that within her is this bottomless void of depth, and her inner world is intense as fuck. It doesn't necessarily come out in the way she talks to others, but all her feelings are high intensity. All her thoughts are high intensity. Everything is felt, every single echo, way deep, deep down into the depths of her soul where you cannot even know what's down there. Everything is felt on a very deep and intimate level, and it reverberates and resonates. When something goes into one of these mermaid women, they're not kind of people where something comes in and comes out. It's something where it goes in and then it echoes down this intensity of depth and rolls around, and that's kind of the magic of Scorpio and the fourth Scorpio, in that everything is felt and understood with intense everything. It's devoured and eaten and rubbed in and felt in all ways. But also everything can be resonated within. So all the good stuff and the bad stuff can kind of feel that depth at the same time. And this was the feeling I was having for this moon, that we have these two kinds of mermaids, the outside intensity mermaid and the inside intensity mermaid, and both are different expressions of the same thing. So there's this idea that to be a mermaid person, or like I've been talking about with the Morgan Le Fay stuff for the last forebs, a Morgan woman is this, but a Morgan woman is also this. A mermaid woman can be outwardly intense, but she can also be quietly inwardly intense. But they always hold that intensity. Mermaids are water beings, so they hold the intensity of the water signs in the astrology, I believe. So they're really nice ways in to understand the mermaids. When we're talking about this feeling of too much, the mermaids really want us to, how do I put this? Mermaids are, the mermaids know and are annoyed that we live in a world that, as women, abruptly tells us and teaches us to tell ourselves that we are too much all the time. And it's so effectively trained into us that we will judge ourselves as too much, even when we're being just like base level of needs and desires met, please. Okay, so there is this intense judgment against us being too much, and it's so easy to be too much in this world. Asking for what you want, speaking up when something's wrong, being too interested in something, liking something too much, wearing something that's too slutty or too prudish, or there are just so many easy boundaries to cross with this. And what is really interesting, I know for me, we internalize this too muchness. So we judge ourselves as too much a lot. We judge our desires as too much. We're like, oh, we can't possibly ask that of our partner because that's asking too much. And what you have to do to be acceptable in this human world is to put your desires and needs last and make sure everyone else is around you happy first, because women cannot be selfish. Women cannot claim more than they deserve. They can only have what they deserve. They cannot have everything they want. It has to be to do with deserving, and that's the spell the patriarchy has cast upon us all. It's cast this spell that runs through our minds, telling us and policing us that we're too much all the time. We're too much this, we're too much that, we're too much this, we're too much that. And it makes sure we keep ourselves in check. And the mermaids want us to break this spell. The mermaids want us to claim and own that all of our bigness and intensity and too muchness is allowed and is acceptable and is awesome and is powerful, because in that incredibly innocent, visceral feeling of experience of life where you feel every single up and every single down and you want to be within, present for everything 100%, that is magic. There is something really beautiful and special about that, and it is difficult living this Scorpio way. I am Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising, and this last year has really been a lot about shadow finding and understanding what that means and how that works, and how this moonfall, this position, and this part of me is how it works, how it fucks things up, how it makes things better, all those things. But the mermaids really want us to notice where we are too much. And often in that too muchness, we will numb ourselves out. So this is where we feel like, oh, this is too much for us, or oh, we are too much for that. How am I avoiding that? Am I watching TV? Am I drinking like a glass of wine every single night to numb out of this feeling? What is too much in our lives? This is what the Scorpio mermaids wants us to look for. They want us to be totally okay with the fact that we are not too much at all, and they want us to look to see where our edges are. Where is it that things get too much so we have to numb out so we don't have to feel them? They want us to be interested in this. They want us to be fascinated by the places where we just can't handle the intensity anymore, so we skip out. And we all do this. I do this. I skip out with TV when anything is too much for me, when I have too much work to do or too many things on my to-do list, I will escape and I will probably spend like 6 hours watching Outlander or something, hiding, because it just all got too much. Or if I'm in having a relationship drama and it's all too much, I will hide the TV so I can numb out and not feel these things. And that's an interesting thing to watch, where we come up against these addictions and where we come up against these edges of things being too intense. Yeah, and it's a cool thing to see. You don't necessarily have to do anything about it right away. You don't have to fix it right away, because that's putting a lot of pressure on your mermaid self. Just see where the edges are. So yes, I really felt like something had to be said about mermaids this moon. So I would love for you to suggest two. I'm going to find this meditation that so I have this free thing that I do. I'm not sure where I keep it now, to be honest. I have this free meditation that I have, which is a mermaid meditation, which is about connecting with your mermaid self. And one of the ways to get through this too muchness thing is to connect in with your mermaid self, because she's this essence of freedom and female awesomeness, who is really, really powerful and helpful when we're dealing with this. So I'll find that and put that in the link down below somewhere. And that's one way to do it, and to just watch those edges and remember that you are under a spell that convinces you that you are too much, when actually you're fucking fine, girl. You are not too much of anything. Your desires are not too much. The things you want help with are not too much. It is a spell that the patriarchy colludes in keeping a reality. It's not real. And the challenge of being a mermaid person is to know that you're operating outside of this, and to operate outside of it. Stop playing by those rules and play by your own rules. Cool. So I'll put that meditation link down below if I can find it. And if you love mermaids, I have a course that you can take anytime called Be More Mermaid, which I'll pop a link to that in below. And it's 6 weeks of connecting with mermaids, lots of rituals and stories and legends and all kinds of stuff to really connecting with your mermaid self. It's really cool. So, sending you lots of love.